Trading at Schwab is now powered by Ameritrade, giving you even more specialized support than ever before. Like access to the trade desk, our team of passionate traders ready to tackle anything from the most complex trading questions to a simple strategy gut check. Need assistance? No problem. Get 24/7 professional answers and live help, and access support by phone, email, and in-platform chat. That's how Schwab is here for you, to help you trade brilliantly. Learn more at schwab.com/trading.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years, and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
I'm Ryan Pack.
I'm Nicole Barlow.
And this is Soundtrack Your Life, where we speak with a guest about a soundtrack that is important to them. Returning today is the host of the Film Rage podcast, Jim. Welcome back, Jim.
Hey, my favorite soundtrackians. How was ya?
Doing great. Yes. So happy to have you back.
You know, you two, just brightened my day. I was, falling asleep earlier today. I'm having a lazy Thursday, and I went, I can't wait till I get to see you guys. I'll be so jacked.
So good. That's how we feel about you, Jim. You're like human caffeine.
Yes.
Just a jolt.
Yeah, we almost did this episode without Nicole because she got sick last week, but we are all better now. And I'm glad that we can have a little party. Well, Jim has been our guest for our episodes on David Byrne's True Stories and We Live in Time. But today we are going to discuss the soundtrack to Isaiah Saxon's 2025 film, The Legend of Ochi.
Yes, and as we were talking earlier, this did not get as big a release as I think it should have.
Yeah, I see that it came out at Sundance in the beginning of the year, and then it came out in April, and I don't know if they just expected kids on spring break to drag their parents to the theater to watch this or what. It was a pretty small release. It's from A24, our good friends at A24. It's a fantasy film. You know, I think a lot of people have compared it to movies like The Neverending Story and Labyrinth, both of which we've covered on the podcast. So would you agree with that assessment, Jim? What did you think of it?
Yeah, I would say those two are kind of ones that pop out. It was funny, when I was watching it last week, I was thinking of something else, and of course now I forgot what it was, but I think it has a little bit more depth, or maybe depth's not the right word. I think it's got a little bit more, almost not quite Lord of the Rings type of scenario, but it because it does have sort of that lore to it, but it's a creature that could technically be alive, whereas the Neverending Story is kind of completely fantasy. Labyrinth is completely fantasy. So trying to find a film that's in, I guess I would say, Hollywood land that is similar to this I think is really tough. And maybe that was kind of the marker that it wasn't super fantasy where you're everything's make believe. It's this creature could technically be alive in this small little island in the middle of the Black Sea, right?
Yeah, it's great world building, and it is in its own way extremely believable and immersive. To me, it's kind of it's sort of like E.T., meets dark fantasy, meets, 80s nostalgia. There's a lot of really cool inspiration and influences. I was telling Ryan before this, and then before we get into any of the, the sonics, the orchestral score, the soundtrack, this is a really cool film visually. I guess there was a whole debate amongst people who saw the initial trailers for this movie that it was AI.
Yeah.
And the director had to come out and be like, no, it's puppetry, it's paintings, it's visual effects, but it's all blended and done with such craft that it looks like something else. It's really wonderful. It's also filmed in Romania, so you get to see all these incredible Romanian forests in this fake place that they are setting up for you called Carpathia. It's very cool. Like, it's cool
It's
to
an
look
art
at.
piece. I think you're right. I think it's an art piece because that's the thing about film is that like I think CGI and AI and all the eyes have just kind of ruined creativity, and to have a director and a group of artists come together to build something, to me is like you don't get anything better than that. And I think that's why both Bryce and I love this film, is because of the visual effects are so natural, and the music score is just fits so well, like so well. It's insane. And to have a okay, so how many movies do you know where they've created a creature that's mythological? Their language is based on singing, and then on top of that, like when they do subtitles in it, usually they kind of cheap out in regular Hollywood films, and they'll have the people both speaking in the English because they'll be like, oh, we can't have them speaking in a completely different language. Like, Lord of the Rings, they stuck in spoken Elvish. In this, they're speaking in Ochi. So it's like they didn't like piss around and go, yeah, you know what, we're just going to fake it like everybody else. No, every single thing was well thought out in this.
Yeah, and it's kind of this like intimate family sort of drama. Like that's the heart of the film. And I mean, I guess technically like Labyrinth kind of is. It's like a coming of age thing, but like it feels like a very intimate sort of film. Obviously, you have top-notch talent in here. You've got Willem Dafoe, Emily Watson, and the lead,
Helena Zengel?
Helena Zengel.
She's like my favorite child actor, by the way. If you have not seen her work, you should just go and watch everything she does. We watched her in a film called System Crashers back. It's a German film because she's German, obviously, with her name like saying. But she's brilliant in that. Like there is not a child actor on the planet that can touch her when in that film. Like that film alone is worth any child star just topple them down like bowling balls. She's brilliant, this kid.
I am going to have to check out more of her work because I found her fantastically compelling in this. She is so unusual and so watchable and so interesting. She makes, you know, Finn Wolfhard look so wooden, which is, like maybe the narrative doesn't give him like enough to do, you could argue, right? But he is also in this film as kind of the adopted son of Willem Dafoe, and Willem Dafoe is this, terrible father who really wanted a son, and he gets Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things, and he is just doing nothing, doing the least, and she is doing the most, being like, emotive and wonderful. So
I thought it was a bit of a departure for Finn though, because I've seen like all of his work in film too, and I think it was a bit of a departure for him actually. Like he was wooden.
yeah.
I agree with you 100%, but I think for him it was a bit of a stretch for this role because he like even there's little tiny scenes like when they're at the dinner table
Mm.
and Willem Dafoe singing their song, which I definitely want to talk more about that
Oh yeah.
song. That is their family song, their song, and she's kind of just like, this song is terrible. I hate it. She's into like metal. So, but Finn's like he listens to Willem Dafoe and goes, yeah, that's good. It's just like he does these little tiny influences into it that it's just like, okay, you're catching this character because you can see by the end of the film he transforms so much. Like of all the characters, his character transforms as much as Willem Dafoe's does.
Yeah, yeah. I almost would have loved to see, maybe more of that. Maybe there's a cut with a little more of that character development and growth. But you mentioned these moments that you get with Willem Dafoe, who is always fantastic and fantastic in this film. where you do get to hear him. You get to hear him sing. You get to hear him sing, I believe, in Ukrainian.
Yeah, I think that one was Ukrainian. There's Ukrainian, Russian, Croatian, probably Romanian. Sorry, I'd written a couple of them down because I was Shazamming some of the songs as they came on.
And obviously Ochi.
Yeah.
Throw in
And
right in
Ochi.
Ochi. Yeah, that's a tough Shazam. Wow, you're like stump Shazam today. See if we can get them to.
It
find
picked
a
up some of the
Croatian
Ochi. Like it's got the soundtrack's on Apple, so
That's true.
Oh, so shall we talk about the soundtrack?
I think that's a great segue to talk about the music of this film.
So the film is mostly film score. And that score is done by Dave Longstreth, best known as kind of the brains, the one sole member of Dirty Projectors. He is a composer, producer, songwriter, string arranger. Has worked with everyone from the global smash hit 4 to 5 Seconds by Rihanna, Paul McCartney, and Kanye West. I only say that because I went to see the Dirty Projectors do a orchestral piece last year, and like I guess they made the program for like people who like know nothing about him, and like that's the first thing is like co-writer of the Smash Rihanna song, and I'm like, okay, like,
fans are not here for that.
I mean, listen, if that was part of my bio, you better bet your sweet ass you're putting that Rihanna credit in the thing. It's going in the thing.
I know, but
I'm Rihanna adjacent. This is his first score, correct? Like this is the first time he's ever scored for film.
yeah. So this is the first time he scored for film. Earlier this year, he came out. The Dirty Projectors released "Songs of the Earth," which is a 1-hour orchestral piece. So you could easily see that he is capable of scoring a film if he can write an hour of orchestral music. But yeah, this is actually his first film score. He seems like someone that it would come pretty natural to. If you've heard the Dirty Projectors, very complicated arrangements, multiple key signatures. Sometimes you feel like there's two songs that are like going on at the same time that are like mashed up together. And then, everybody who is anybody seems to love his work. He's done. He did a whole EP with Bjork and the Dirty Projectors. He's done songs with David Byrne, The Roots, and if you include ex Dirty Projector Amber Kaufman, you have even collaborations with Joanna Newsom and Frank Ocean and J. Cole. So it's a very like long list of people that they've worked with. Solange as well. Her Grammy-winning album, A Seat at the Table. I think Dave Longstreth has multiple credits on that album. So he's very accomplished, and it seems like this would that composing would come pretty easily to him, and I think it works in this film. He definitely uses his ability to like go from very beautiful to very chaotic at the same time, like on a dime, which is I feel like a way to describe his Dirty Projector songs as well.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
Yeah, they have some harsh tones, right? There's just some harshness to this that matches, the action as it goes, and then some things that are extremely beautiful. It's interesting because Isaiah Saxon, the director of this film, is a music video director. That's what he was doing, before this. And he's worked with Bjork, and he's worked with Grizzly Bear, who's a contemporary to Dirty Projectors. So it feels like there must have been some kind of connection there, and maybe their paths crossed, and that's how this collaboration came to be. I'm curious, Jim, like when you were watching the film, did this orchestral score feel, well, two things. One, did it feel like it was really loud? Like they really wanted you to hear this score? And what did you think of it? Did you register it while you were watching the film, I guess?
Yeah, totally. Like this was one I think I actually might have reached out to Ryan when I after seeing this film, just saying that. But it's funny because on our podcast, one of the if the score is to me something that also makes or adds to the film, I always bring it up when we talk about the podcast that it's a real focus for me. I think, and we've talked a bit about this before, but I just think that a soundtrack has to fit the atmosphere of the film, and I think this really does fit well with it. So when I was watching this for the first time, it had such a different like change in style from a lot of others. You could tell this was a hungry artist that was building the score. It wasn't somebody who was like a Hans Zimmer or something like that, where it was polished and clean. It was almost dirty at times, which I really like to see the rawness in it because the film is raw and there's there's confrontation, and when you feel that confrontation with the sound as it's coming through, and just the mix of all the different languages that are on the soundtrack that they're listening to the music, it's like it just continues to add to it as it transists. And for me, actually, it was a big thing. Actually, when I was listening to it in the cinema, I turned to Bryce, my partner, on the podcast, and I said, "Listen to this song. It's the song for their song." And I'm like, "Can you hear that there's some influence from another soundtrack, like a real well-known soundtrack that not a lot of people would pick out?" And he's like, "I'm not hearing it." And then when I mentioned it to him, he's like, "Yeah, I can kind of hear it." So I'm not sure if you guys have seen Cannibal Holocaust before.
No, but I'm familiar.
Yeah, I'm familiar
Okay,
with that one.
so you don't even have to watch the whole movie, but you should listen to the opening credits and the closing credits because that song is iconic in film. And their particular song, the melody is almost leaning onto the Cannibal Holocaust one. So I was like, what the hell's happening? And then when Ryan shared, he said it was part of my homework to do, and one of the tracks is what was it? Cannibal. It had the title Cannibal in it too. I'm like, did he kind of steal from Cannibal Holocaust? Like it just made me think. Like
Interesting.
it just when you see so many movies and you can go, okay, if it's memorable enough that you remember that melody, it's like, okay, this is a solid soundtrack. This is a solid score.
What I will say about this score as well is that it does a really good job of building tension because, and again, this is where I say spoilers for Legend of Ochi. If you haven't seen it, that I'm not really sure why you're listening to this, but yeah, this really like spoilers. I thought the entire time that an Ochi was going to die tragically. Did anyone else think this? That like Ochis are just going to be blown away? And I know it's not Planet of the Apes, but I really thought there was going to be, like a mass Ochi slaughter. That's not what happens, but I think the score does a really good job of making you think like shit's going to go down. But it doesn't go the way that you quite expect it to go. Actually.
There are a lot of twists in the film, and I think the music is really helps play into that.
Yes.
When it gets really tense, it gets almost like Johnny Greenwood, There Will Be Blood.
Yeah,
intense.
a little bit of that, yeah.
Especially with like how loud the score is mixed into the movie.
Mm-hmm. And how with the instruments he chooses to use. So when he's really trying to build that tension, he goes right to the bass strings, and it's just like it resonates right into your chest. You're just like, oh my god, one of these fucking Ochis is gonna get blown to smithereens.
Smithereens, yes, smithereens.
This
I'm so
Ochi's so. But one of them did get shot, and I was like, okay, what happened in that one?
Yeah, well, right, and we saw it around Mother's Day, and I remember like having my McGuffin's bar like AMC drink and just whispering to myself and probably to Ryan like, not on Mother's Day. They're not gonna waste this like mom Ochi on Mother. How dare they? And I thought for sure the mom was done in that very Bambi kind of way. So the fact that all the Ochis do seem to survive, no one was mortally wounded, is I think in and of itself, like, actually a very bold choice.
Yeah, and I actually think this is because when my wife rewatched it with me, like I've now seen this movie 5 times, just so you know.
Wow,
Yeah, like
Wow.
Jim.
I love this
Whoa.
movie. When I say I love this
Okay.
movie, I love this movie.
Okay,
So
you sent it.
when
Wow,
I
Jim.
watched it again with my wife, as she hadn't seen it yet, and she's like, "Who's that? And where are they? Like, why? What happened to the mom?" Like, she was thinking the same thing, and I'm like, "Why would she leave her baby?" And I'm like, "Well, she probably had to go back to home to heal because of the shot that she got."
Right,
And
right.
then they couldn't find the others couldn't find baby Ochi, so as it was probably trapped in that trap somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they got, and they said, well, we can only look for the baby Ochi that long because they're going to get shot. So that was a big part for her. That was kind of like, where the hell? What? Why would a mom Ochi leave her baby?
What's it? Yeah, and again, it's we as the audience are not speaking Ochi. We're not in communication with the Ochi, so we don't. It's kind of unclear. It is a little bit unclear. It's left, I think, open to interpretation what exactly happens. But the mom and the baby Ochi, they do get separated, and there is a lot of peril that never comes to Ochi's being slaughtered, which is you really think they're going to be. Willem Dafoe and his like band of orphan boys are just running around with, every kind of crude weapon they can, and Defoe is dressed in this like ridiculous kind of weird medieval armor.
Yeah, he's kind of like it's kind of like an evil Wes Anderson villain.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely a
Totally.
little of that. Like whatever retainer A24 has him on, like good for them because what a treat.
Yeah, and the budget for this was only 10 million. I'm like, how can you afford to get Willem Dafoe like
Yeah.
in this movie, and then all the money they would had to pay for the puppet work
Yeah,
in this?
totally. That I think
For
that alone would have eaten so much of the budget, the effects and the puppetry, which are again, I think it's like hard to overstate how beautiful this movie. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It really makes you feel things in how beautiful it is alone.
I think I'm. This is my guess because like a lot of big actors that get paid mega bucks when they say I'm gonna make a Disney film or whatever, or one of the big studios that still makes money. I don't even know who they are anymore, but I feel that when they do these projects, when they do A24 projects, they just say, we'll work for scale.
Right.
And you know what? If you make money, pay me bonus. If you don't make money, I just want to work in A24 world.
And he's in the A24 world a lot.
He is. Yes.
On the list of characters I thought that were going to eat it in this movie, one was like maybe Mama Yochi. And then number 2 was like Willem Dafoe on accident. Like he's going to like fall off a cliff or something because he's got that bloodlust and it's going to just
Yeah, I mean,
end him,
hubris is going to take him out, and it almost does. It almost
Yep.
does when he's in the cave and there's a giant tree falling across his legs or whatever happened. He almost does get taken out by his own pride, right? So it's a close call. It's a close call, but it doesn't happen.
Sometimes I think in kids, like Disney used to do that a lot where they just like to kill people for no reason. It seemed like it's like for a reason for parents to fast forward the movie. But in nowadays, I don't know if you need to have that. I don't think 5-year-olds need to know that somebody important in this movie has to die. And, as a person that doesn't eat a lot of meat, right? It's like you kind of have a feeling for these animals. So
You really do. I think they're rendered marvelously, and I think you do build a great deal of empathy for them. I love to read letterbox reviews, and so I always like tag the ones that I'm like, that's the funniest shit I've ever seen. Somebody in letterbox was in regards to the Ochi, Facebook marketplace ass creature. Which I do not agree. For the record, I do not agree with that. I don't think it looks like a Labubu or some like Facebook
No.
marketplace ass creature. But that's extremely funny to me.
I'll tell you what it exactly is. Do you want to know what it exactly is?
Tell me.
It's Gizmo
Yes.
with Baby Yoda,
Yes.
Grogu,
Yes.
and an orangutan. That's it. It's those 3
Yeah.
things squished into an Ochi.
I think
Baby
that's pretty
Ochi.
much the formula.
Yeah.
Yeah. Orangutan for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Totally.
for sure. If you
Yeah.
love orangutans, but you wish they were just, like
Cuter.
more human,
Yeah.
this is it for you.
Yeah, as an adult Ochi, but a baby Ochi, those freaking things are so adorable. They should have marketed that. Like, I want a baby Ochi
They made
that
one.
says
The A24 shop has like little baby Ochi that you can buy. It looks great.
that talks though. Like, I want
No,
one
it
that
doesn't. It
that
doesn't
sings. I want to
talk.
sing. I want it to sing the soundtrack.
Jim's like, no, Nicole, not. I don't want a doll.
No,
I'm an
I
adult.
want an interactive. Yeah, I'm an adult. Okay.
I want to learn how to speak Ochi, sing Ochi, and then I want it to say my name in Ochi.
Come on, A24.
Get it
Are you
together.
holding
No
back on
wonder.
the merch?
Yeah.
Yeah, A24, you need to do some sort of cross collaboration with Build-A-Bear where you can build an Ochi that can talk to you,
Yes.
say your name.
The build at Ochi.
Oh my
I
god.
can't. Cannot.
Totes.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
So one of the most memorable scenes in the film, and it's music related, is the poster of Hellthrone in Yuri's room. And it's a poster for a band called Hellthrone, and then, like, I don't know if it's their band motto or if it's the name of the album, but it's called Destroy the Father. It says Destroy the Father.
And it's one of those, yeah, like illustrated, like super fantasy novel cover, like metal posters. It's so great. It looks like some kind of, like Norwegian, like dark metal. It's great. It's so great.
And it leads to like a great series of jokes in the film. So when she has run away with the Ochi and Willem Dafoe finally like realizes that she's not around, I think he's trying to like he goes to her room and accidentally like sets off the record player, and then just like metal just like blasts his face. And then later in the film, as you see his transformation into a more empathetic, less bloodthirsty father, he goes, "I listened to that metal band you like. They're good."
Yes.
Like, is that a real, I mean, it has to be obviously like a real metal band. Like, what is that?
I did the research.
What is
Reddit
it?
told me. Because anytime you look up a metal band on the Ochi soundtrack, it's just like, oh, here's the Dave Longstreth score for the Ochi. I'm like,
Right. It's
yeah, I already got
find
that.
information about this film. I just want to put that out there. Like, not a lot of marketing was done for this film. But what is it?
So if I am wrong, blame Reddit. But they say that the band is called Hissing, and they're from Seattle.
Really?
Really?
There's a Seattle metal band, Hissing. Okay.
And then
Yeah.
there's a different metal song played when like Finn Wolford and the boys are like wrestling outside. It's like metal on a boombox, and that is by a Hungarian metal band called Omen.
Oh, man. What a great, yes.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And again, another language, right? Like, it's all around the Black Sea. It's like almost they took every country that borders the Black Sea, and it could be the language they speak. Who knows?
Yeah, it does a really good job of, like, I didn't even know until the end and when we saw the credits that they filmed this in Romania, because there's such a blend of like the real landscape and then the VFX that this Carpathia world could be a lot of places, it could be Iceland, it could be some part of Ukraine, it could be Romania. Like, it's very much unto itself. They do an amazing job of world building for this place, this fake place.
Yeah, totally. It's I like to imagine if it's in Romania that it was in Transylvania.
Well, that's the other thing about it too, is that it could be set almost at any point in time too. People are dressed simultaneously, like sort of 80s and retro, but then also there are these like old world sort of influences that come in. It's very out of time and out of place.
Right. Like you have kind of the countryside where you have no idea what time you're in, and then you go to that one scene at the market.
The market, right? The market
Yeah.
scene.
Oh my God, that market
It's a great
scene.
market.
That's the best grocery shopping experience scene I've ever seen. Like when he picks that gun up from behind his I just about lost my shit. I was just like, what the? I'm like, oh, excuse me. He just says he's serving the client. Excuse me, I'm going to go shoot something with my gun
It's so
in the
casual.
store.
The comedy in this movie is so unexpected and underrated.
It's totally.
It's low key. Like there are some very low key, like very comic moments. What's interesting about this too, in terms of like how they marketed it or maybe didn't market it, is I think you associate A24 not so much with kids' films, right? This is not like necessarily their wheelhouse of things that they do. It is a kid's film. You could show a kid this and they would get it and appreciate it. But it is also like, deeply weird and stuff like that is happening. So it does harken back to a time when you could make films that I think were for general audiences, but they weren't pandering to kids.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us, like me, like I grew up on a lot of dark fantasy shit and on Labyrinth, as Ryan mentioned, but also things like the Dark Crystal.
Dark Crystal, yeah.
Involved like a lot of incredible puppetry and world building, all of those like Henson, sort of creature shop things. And it really did remind me of that. It made me feel like that, but simultaneously was something super new. So it's interesting. Like I'm really interested in this director too. I feel like he has a great future. I'm very excited to see what he wants to do next.
When I found out that he directed Bjork's Wonderlust, I went, oh my God, like, yes. Like when that video came out, I must have watched that video 100 times. I just freaking thought it was so beautifully shot. And I was just like, as you guys know, I'm a pretty big Bjork fan. So it was like, oh my God, this. And then I just forgot. I looked him up at the time and then I completely forgot about him because I just do. And then he did that. I found out he did the Grizzly Bear video too. So I'm like, okay, this guy is someone I have to watch.
And Dave Longstreth has connections to both of those artists.
Yes. So obviously that's how they got connected probably, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense. Again, like good luck finding any kind of storytelling around how this movie was made. I hope it finds a bigger following so that, stuff like that for people that really love it and that want to keep watching it, like that will start to maybe come out a little bit. I would be very interested in those details.
Well, Ryan, have you let your kid watch it yet?
No, but
Why? Do you feel it's too old for them?
I think it's a little too scary for them.
Okay.
Your kids are quite young, so
Yeah, they're probably like a year or two too young for it.
Okay.
But it's a movie that I'd like to introduce to them.
Yeah, it's just you have to know your kid, right? Like your kids are, if they're too young, you don't want to introduce them to something scary, but sometimes kids want to go there, so it's kind of funny. I'm anxious to know when they do.
Well, it's funny because, like I rewatched, both Labyrinth and The Neverending Story this year. And part of me is like, man, like these were just for like any kid, like these were general audience movies, right? And there's some pretty like scary elements to them. There's a lot of, characters are dying, things outside of David Bowie's codpiece, like there's terrifying things in these movies, like the horse dying in Neverending Story. Like everyone talks about how tragic that scene is, and there's still adults who like cry during that scene. So when I was watching
PG,
Ochi, I was like,
though.
I can't show my kids this yet.
Yeah, it's PG too, right? So you're right. I think back in the day they just would let kids watch anything.
I'm saying though, like, yeah, no, they really would let kids watch anything. Like, there were far less regulations and hand wringing and attitudes towards all of this shit. But I do believe that if you're going to make a film that is fantasy and that can be watched by kids, that should be kind of like an old world folk tale, and that it delivers. Ochi delivers that. Some real freak shit happens in this movie. And my hope would be that, some kid is really like into this real freak shit that happens in this movie and that aids in their creative development. because it certainly aided in mine, movies like this. And I think you can
Mhm.
tell the filmmakers really had that same like reverence and love for things that are just, on a different end of the spectrum. They were not aiming, there's not set out to make a kids film. They were just set out to make a fantasy.
Yeah, and I think the scary there's only the beginning part where they're gonna
The
kill the
beginning.
Ochi. That's
The beginning
kind
is
of
the scariest part, and you're like, oh my
yeah,
god, is everything gonna happen? But then actually it gets fairly
yeah.
lighter.
Well, I just think like the Ochi bite and how that like
Mm,
that infection that
That
could
was
be a
right.
little scary for kids.
It's a little much.
I love the red herring with that, where she thinks that's why she can sing
yes.
like an Ochi, and then
Yeah.
her mom is just like, oh no, that's just like an infection. We gotta get rid of that.
We gotta get this bat from the
Yeah,
bar.
the bat to suck it out. Yeah.
Yeah, like no, like you learned as a baby, and now you're just remembering. It has nothing to do with this
Yeah.
infection, so let's just treat this.
Well, and it's funny how she has the ability to sing it, but the mom needs the flute for assistance for it, right? So that she was able to form her voice for Ochi, right? And that the mom is such an expert in Ochi, yet she thinks, no, you can't take a baby Ochi back to its mom. Like, okay, this is more human. Sorry, Rob Zombie, but it's more human than human. You're like, this Ochi's more like you than you even know, mom, who's supposed to be an expert.
Right. Now that you've seen this movie 5 times, Jim, like what I keep thinking about, having only seen it once in the theaters and kind of wanting to explore these themes a little bit more. So they set up this conflict between Willem Dafoe's character, who is this, guy that hates the Ochi, right? And he's whatever on this super masculine quest to like waste them all and get them out of the forest. And then there's his like estranged, I guess you could call it, wife, who is like living in the forest, who has abandoned her family, who, he says has been killed by the Ochi. That's obviously not the case. She's just kind of living in seclusion in a hut, doing like crazy witchy magic things. And he also seems to be like really religious. So there's this kind of like whole
Hmm.
weird thing of like, okay, religion versus like the natural world, his views versus her views. I was like curious what you thought about that. Like what did that mean to you, all of that?
Yeah, no, I totally think the same thing as you, Nicole. Like to me, I like that because it is kind of like the old world and the new world kind of meshing, and it was like the transition and how they could have the two characters that are sort of polar opposites, and yet the religion side of it, they don't really say much about her that but about her having any religion other than she's like an earth mother, right?
Right.
So I did find that the religious, I love films that sprinkle religion in it because I'm so anti-religion. So I love to see how the dichotomy of how it changes the people within it. And even some of the music is religious for him, right? And
Right.
I think that it really does kind of tell that there's change happening on the island, right? But you don't get to know which way it's going. Like, are they starting to become religious, or is there a trend to going towards being more earth mothers and earth children, right? So
Yeah, it's interesting because it's almost as if like, Emily Watson's character is in this place of trying to connect with the Ochi that maybe people have lost in that transition to religion and technology. And by the end of the film, they get back to that. And there's this kind of beautiful, oneness of like, okay, we're reuniting with these forest spirits. This was cool. It's interesting. I think this is also why if you were to go with a classical score, it wouldn't work, right?
mhm,
Like you need something that is in contrast to like a classical world.
yeah.
And so I really respected that choice too. Like it's a very interesting way to, because that would be the easier choice to make, right? Like a different director might have just been like, nope, I just need like an orchestral score. It's got to support the action. And that's not what happened here. It's just a really interesting choice.
It's dynamic actually,
Yeah.
and the melodies are more memorable, I think. I think the melodies, like, I've been humming that Ochi song for the last 4 days, right? So it's like, whereas other like scores, I've never walked out of a movie and sang or hummed a Hans Zimmer tune. Just never happened, right? Oh, you mean like Dune? As opposed to like Danny Elfman, right? Like Danny Elfman, you could come out and it's like you could be humming Pee Wee's Big Adventure, right?
And
Like
I do.
yeah, exactly, right? So
Frequently.
that's what I mean is that Danny Elfman still has the ability to cast an orchestra, and I think David's done a great job with this. Like, just I can't wait to see what scores he does next. Like, I hope people see or hear this and go, okay, now I can see what we can do in the forest. And interesting because of like his work with Bjork and the songs that he played with her. I you see where her voice would feed into this as well, right?
You totally can. And I think before even knowing that he had directed that video for Bjork, I was like, this has a very Bjork quality to it, which is a weird thing to say, as somebody who like doesn't know a lot of things culturally about Iceland, maybe, but I know a lot of things about Bjork because I'm a big Bjork fan as well. I was like, it's very Bjork. It's very like visually led. The whole thing is almost in kind of this like very cool like flow state. Like it unfolds fairly slowly. Like none of the action is too fast, and it's all very beautiful.
Yeah, and like unlike these other fantasy movies that we referenced earlier, those are more like synth-based scores because you are in a world of make-believe, so you kind of need like that extra like push of like, yeah, like this is not reality. But here it's a very orchestral score still, even though it's definitely not a classical score, because you want to feel like this is Earth and this is like actually happening.
Yeah, I think natural instruments lend itself to that, right? It's like if you can, because you can technically, maybe not the brass per se, but pretty much all the other instruments you can make in nature with strings, right?
Especially the flute, as Emily Watson
Yes,
demonstrates.
that's
Right.
right. Right? So it can happen. It makes it feel, I don't know. I'm not a big, I shouldn't say I'm not a big synth fan because there's synth music that I love, but there's something, I thought this was funny, and I know it's maybe a bit of a sidebar here, but I thought it was funny, and I saw an interview with Depeche Mode years ago, and they're like, we actually write all our music on guitar. It's like, what?
They're
Martin
like
Gore, what?
secretly a guitar band.
Yeah, like we should have been in a guitar band, but no, we just do like it just kind of blew my mind. It's like I love hearing things like that because people can be that creative with it, right? And his music, like David Longstreth's music, is so dynamic. Like you can't peg him down to one style. So I understand why you like him so much, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's someone that I really like what he does, but I also feel like he also knows how talented he is. So sometimes I find him to be kind of annoying.
How dare he know that?
We had the same problem, I think, a couple years ago with Caroline Polachek, where she's like extremely talented, but it also seems like she knows she's that talented and she's kind of annoying.
Yeah, there's a bit of a muchness to it. No, for sure. For sure. And I think people could also easily, as kind of a related to that comment, right? People could easily find what he does maybe a little bit too Baroque, right? And I can understand that. Like, oh, maybe there's like too much going on here. I'm referring more to his work with Dirty Projectors, maybe with others than this score. But
I thought that the first album for Dirty Projectors, because I went and I listened to every one of them. I was like, the first album was kind of the one that I was just like, I love that album. Like the very first one is kind of like the almost, I don't know if staccato-ness of that and how it's edited and cut together with how chunky, I want to say it's kind of chunky in it, and then he smooths things out, and then he comes back to some chunkiness in the vocal stylings of certain things. Like in other tracks, it's kind of like you can't predict where he's going to go on almost every album. It is kind of like Bowie in that respect, right? Like he the changes that he goes through with the Dirty Projectors is just like, and some albums I'm kind of like, hey, I can actually hear Bowie's influence in there. Some of the early stuff I'm like, he was listening to a lot of Sonic Youth when he made this album, maybe. I don't know. Like it's just all these different influences from it. But the one I was listening, I can't remember what track it is now, but I was just like, okay, and this one sounds like he's been hanging out with the guys from Grizzly Bear. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so there is like, because they're in that like cohort, you know, it's sort of they do have some similar like sonics, I think, between the two bands. I think I only started getting into Dirty Projectors around like Bit Orca, is that how you say it?
Orca, yeah.
Bit Orca, which has aspects that are like jarring, you know, unsettling a little bit. Like it's almost like it's one of those albums that can be like, you could consider it unpleasant, but it's incredibly interesting.
Yeah, I would say the first listen of Bit Orca can be very disorienting with like how the vocals come in, and it's produced to sound a little rough, like on purpose. Mm-hmm. And then you have like songs like Stillness is the Move, which is their biggest hit, which is like this guitar riff over like this super like busy beat, and like it feels like it shouldn't work together, but it does. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's kind of his thing. Like this layer, there's going to be a contrast of layers in my music. And I like I said, that's why I think it works so well for this film, because you have like, all right, like we're in nature and it's beautiful and then terrifying.
I mean, it really switches up on you. Again, like his first foray into movie scores, and this is this director's first film. Like, it feels like a really interesting and fruitful partnership, and I hope they keep doing stuff together, because it really does work.
Yeah, I think when people aren't driven, unfortunately, because everybody has to eat, but it's unfortunate that you have like, or sorry, fortunately, when you see things like this, like it's almost like a marriage, creative marriage, and you want them to continue to move forward, right? Because for them to they're obviously not, neither one of them are new to music, to directing, to some of the actors in it, right? So, and I'm sure the puppetry artists were also not new to it, but it's like when we're making our first feature together, you can pull those creative talents together. It's like, you know what, even with, you have a podcast, right? Like you can't create your podcast and support it all by yourself. You have a community of people, right? So, and then you stick with those friends or those people, and hopefully you work together because you're aligned. Just like when you form a band, right? And the band all are in sync, and when the artists come together to make an artistic film like this, it's like, okay, what possibly can they do next? Because if this was so good, like what elevation, what evolution can happen off these two if they work together?
I'm looking forward to what's next. I assume that we're going to get another Dirty Projectors album before he scores another film. But speaking of, so the press release we got talked about how there's a new Dirty Projector song on this soundtrack called Dark and Lonely Night. It's a great song, but it doesn't actually appear in the film. It's called Through the Long and Lonely Night. That is this new song that has been advertised in this press release. So it's on the soundtrack in as performed by Dave Longstreth. But in the movie, it is in a different form. Did you catch when this song appears in the movie?
Mm-mm.
So there's a different version of it, I believe, on the radio in the house.
Just like in the background, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not in English. And correct me if this is wrong, Ryan, but isn't it playing in the scene where they kind of like cut away and there's a picture of the family of his wife and the radio's play? Is that the part?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like kind of the melancholy song about the their relationship.
Yes. Okay, I do remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the artwork for the single is, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like their wedding picture.
Oh my God. Oh God, that's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I kept not realizing any of this, again, like seeing it for the first time. I was waiting for it. I'm like, well, it's got to be like the end credits song, right? But no, there is actually scoring for that's just called end credits for the end credits, and you never hear the song, but it is on the soundtrack, so you can access it, you can stream it.
It's a wonderful song.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was funny that it's like all hyped up in the press release, and it's like,
Yeah.
if you're not paying attention, you totally miss it.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. Yeah. Well, I think that's the
I
thing too
did.
is people will get the soundtrack, right, and listen to it. Hopefully.
I'll probably pick it up sooner than later. Gotta use those 824 credits.
Member perks.
Yeah, member
Nice.
perks. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about from Dave Longstreth or the Legend of Ochi?
I remembered the song title now. It's called Cannibal Resource.
Oh, yeah, that's the first song of Bit Orca.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember it was like this...
Cannibal? Are you stealing from movies and things with cannibal in the title? I don't know.
a funny story about that song.
I'm in the garage with the strings. What's happening?
Okay, so after this is done, you guys just get off. You just have to go on YouTube and go Cannibal Holocaust music. And just, I want you to message me later and say, okay, I see what you're saying. To see, I may be crazy, but it had that feeling for me, the melody of it.
Well, you may be crazy, but you may also be right. So we'll check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I just, last week or 2 weeks ago, tried to connect Everybody Wants to Rule the World on the DuckTales theme song, so...
We all have our side quests.
Yeah. It's a funny story about Cannibal Resource. So it is the first song off Bite Orca, and I remember buying the record, and we went to my friend's house to listen to it, and a good friend of mine who had never heard the Dirty Projectors, she was with me, and when I put it on, Cannibal Resource starts playing, and maybe like 45 seconds into the song, she's like, nope, not for me, and just like walked away. And
Whoa.
I feel like they're kind of that sort of band for you. Like it's either like too much.
It's polarizing, you know.
Yeah.
It's polarizing music.
That's probably one of my favorite songs of his.
No, mine too. But it was like one of those, like, you know, you're either in or you're out. Like if you can get through the song, you'll probably like more of their stuff. But if it's just too much, if it's just too off-putting, like this is probably it for you. It's the end of the road.
Okay, I have a funny story because trying to fit in all my listening as we were driving around the city the last 4 or 5 weeks, and I'm listening to the playlist that Ryan assigned me, and like my wife would go in and do some shopping, and she'd come back out, and I'd be still listening to it. Then we'd be driving around. She's like, "Why are we listening to this shit?" I'm like, what are you talking about? I love this song. And I tried to put it back, and it was one of the ones that was like a little more eclectic than she's used to. And she's like, just looked at me and said, okay.
Put that nice Rihanna song back on.
Yeah, she did. She is like me. We do not like Rihanna, so.
What is this unlistenable?
I like Rihanna, just not that song.
Yeah.
It's pretty mid. But, you know, you can't be nobody and get into the studio with Rihanna.
True. Yeah.
Did you like the David Byrne song?
Yeah, and you can feel that one. Paul McCartney, I couldn't even hear Paul McCartney in it. So I'm like, what did Paul McCartney do in it? Like, I wasn't hearing his anywhere. I kept listening to it. I'm like, I don't hear Paul McCartney in there.
Yeah, I think he's just like harmonizing or something.
Yeah, maybe. Or he's playing bass or something. I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, everything you sent me was good. I think I sent you a message that, hey, how come this didn't get added into the playlist? Oh, Stillness. Yeah.
Well, because I think it's because Amber sings on that one, and I just wanted to stick with stuff that she's not in the band anymore.
She was in the band.
She was. That was kind of their, yeah. it's their biggest hit. Solange has covered it, but I didn't want to like then start loading it up with like stuff Amber's been on, because it's like, well, she wasn't in the Dirty Projectors when she did the Frank Ocean song. But anyway, not
I went down a lot of tendrils. When you give me homework, I'm one of those people that go above and beyond.
I figured you'd find out what you needed to find out. That was just like a nice sampler. It wasn't even like my favorite songs that he's worked on. It's just like, here's like a good platter of stuff.
Randomly threw some shit in there, and then
random, but
I love that you gave Ryan that you gave Jim a primer, and then also like got Jim in trouble with his wife.
Well, what do we? Oh, because like last time we talked about Bryce Dessner. Bryce Dessner, and he had never heard the National.
That's right, I remember that.
So it's like, well, maybe I should prep him since we're going to talk about another indie rocker turned composer. So I thought I'd give him a little taste.
I love it.
Fill Jim's head with more knowledge, as if there isn't enough in there already.
I need more music. It's funny. I just don't. I watch too many films and I'm not listening to as much music. So I'm trying to do that more and more. So just keep sending me stuff.
Yeah, I feel like we have the opposite problem. So this is a good transaction.
Yeah. Now you guys have a couple of movies you got to go see for film scores.
Exactly.
Put it on your list.
I mean, that's been the great thing about this podcast is we've, I think, just learned a lot about how much variety there is in film score. Like, you know, I think we thought that we were like pretty ahead of the curve because we knew like who John Bryan was and like, you know, some of these like smaller but like cult composers. And then like there's just like this whole world of like film composition that we haven't even like scrape the surface with.
Yeah, it's interesting too, right? When you guys live in California, so it's like,
or what is formerly known as California.
What is formerly known as California? Yeah, sure. That's better. That's a more accurate statement. And it's funny, like we had I want to say a bit of an eye opening this last week. We went to the cinemas, and it was kind of the first time in a long time that we got a Vietnamese film was in cinemas. And we were both like, okay, I don't care what this film is. We've got to see it, because like we get tons of Bollywood stuff. We get tons of, a lot more Korean films come through, and we'll get Chinese films as well. But it's very rare when we'll get like an Indonesian or Malaysian or Vietnamese. So when we got it, went and saw it, and was like, okay, like all I want to watch is Vietnamese films now, because it was so good. Wow. Right? So it's kind of like that. And you hear some of the music and the score in these other films, and you're kind of like, when you're seeing international film, it just completely changes your perspective, because we're so used to just listening to English sang music, right? And there's so much good music out there, and there's so many good films with different concepts that blow your mind, right? Like we're so used to that quote unquote Hollywood ending, like everybody lives in Ochi, right? 1950s Disney, everybody was being killed.
I'm still, again, like, biggest spoiler ever. I'm so sorry if you haven't seen Legend of Ochi, but like everybody living was like, what? Really? Nobody got shot? All the Ochis are alive? I was amazed.
Yeah, I mean, they do such a good job with the suspense in this movie. You know, whether it's, is an Ochi going to die, or is Willem Dafoe going to die? Or is she going to die from this Ochi bite that the Ochi, gave her when he was scared? You know, like, is the Ochi tribe going to mercilessly beat the baby because he's been around the humans too much? Like, there's all these like different like things that you think may happen, and none of them do. And it's the fact that you're kind of on the edge of your seat each time is a testament to Isaiah Saxon's direction and Dave Longstreth's score.
Play flutes and chill was not on my bingo card. That's not what I would have predicted. So in that way, totally unpredictable ending.
Oh.
For me, I did not see that coming.
I've never been a big pan flute fan, but I am now.
Oh, we laughed so hard when she came out with the flute.
I don't even know why. I think because it was just genuinely so like, wait, what? That's how it's gonna end? What? I think we're so used to also like the obvious thing happening, which is, somebody's got to be martyred, somebody's got to like go out, and none of that happens. Like there is nothing that you think is going to happen in this movie really happens. It's very weird.
It's because you've got the Ochi and you've got the gang of boys.
It's volatile.
The Lost Boys.
Right, and you just feel like there's going to be like this shootout or some equivalent of a shootout with the Ochi and like these boys who've been just trained to like want to kill. And then all of a sudden it gets all deflated by pan flute.
Yeah, it's like Kendall Jenner's Pepsi, like it was just one Pepsi and the whole situation was diffused.
That's right.
Just like real life.
Yeah.
It's just like real life. Exactly. That happens 100%. All the time. Anyway.
Did either one of you play recorder as a child?
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. They made me play that recorder.
So how
no Ochi came though. It was terrible.
Well, it was because it was a recorder. If it was a pan flute, then probably yes.
Yeah, some like a possum from a garbage can. That's what the recorder from 4th grade lures out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a rabid raccoon.
As they sing the Cannibal Holocaust theme song.
Like lumbering out.
I can't wait for you guys to tell me what.
No, I'm definitely listening to it tomorrow.
Overlay them, and it's kind of...
Well, thank you, Jim, for being on our podcast.
Well, I wouldn't miss it. Would not miss it.
So, if our listeners want to check out Film Rage, how can they find you?
Well, you go to Mr. or Mrs. or the Google and you search Film Rage Podcast and you will find us everywhere.
Or you can look in our show notes. We'll have links to websites, socials, and all that stuff. You can find us at soundtrackyourlife.net, and that is also our handle on Blue Sky, and SoundtrackCast on Instagram and that other site that's like Blue Sky. And if you want to listen, or if you want to check out our new writing site, that's blog.soundtrackyourlife.net. We have just launched a pop culture writing website.
So if you would like more of this, but in a written form, look forward to that.
We're very proud of it. But thank you again, Jim. And I'm sure that next time A24 comes calling, we'll give you a call.
Nice. Love it.